the stream is doing good. Alright. Looks like it's doing swimmingly. I don't know how many of you are here now. I am still currently trying to get my chat boxes set up where I can see what is being said by me. Being said by what you guys are saying. Anyway, is there anybody in the room right now? Let me see what I can figure out. You know, I don't think anybody has joined yet. And they should. It's going to be a good show. I want to take this up to where I can get the gist of who all is with me and this over so that I can figure out what exactly you guys are saying. Stands to reason. Alright, I wanted to talk to you today about the gift of the psyche. The psyche, I feel, is embedded in each and every one of us from the time that we're born to the time that we die. It may not be as prominent in some individuals as it would be in others. However, you can rest assured that it's there and ever so present, even as the sense of taste, touch, sight, hearing, or feeling. The same as all of these gifts actually existing, so does that sixth sense, which a lot of people don't even acknowledge that it exists, much less have they even set out to try to bring it up within them so that it would become stronger. And there are two different types of people. There are those that will acknowledge their gifts and just leave them alone or hide from them even. And then there are those that will grow and nurture those gifts so that it can reach the potential level that one would hope to when they are on a pathway of trying to obtain such. The gift of the psyche is so strong and prominent when you do start developing it that you could accomplish just about whatever you set your mind to and use whatever tool you would like to, as the tools are merely focus points. Whether you're using the crystal to scry into, or a scrying bowl of water, or an ocean, or a sky of clouds, a crystal ball, or the tarot, the runes, regardless which one of these tools you use, the gift is inside your body and it's wanting to come out. If you don't use it very often, eventually it grows to an all-time high and it begins bubbling over into life where you may not even want it to be, even though it's still trying to be of a help to you. We can tend to intimidate those people that would be afraid of us, especially boyfriends, girlfriends, people that would think that they don't really want anybody that sits there and read their mind or know everything there is to know about them. We intimidate these people, and that's not what we're really supposed to be about anyway. I mean, for the most part, whenever it comes to our lovers, our husband, our girlfriend or boyfriend, even people in our family, mothers, fathers, and all of that, we shut down the psyche wherever they're concerned because we know deep down inside of ourselves that they would not want to be invaded upon, that they would not like to know that you're reading them at every turn or with them on anything at every corner. I mean, it would just drive them nuts. And so as we grow older, we learn to keep it to ourselves unless a person is asking us for it. Likewise, if you keep on using your gifts and prying into other people's affairs, it'll become expected, and then you'll get pried upon at every corner or turn. Somebody within the group is always going to think that you know everything and that they should be life coached by you and that you have nothing better to do within your life than to tend to their life. So often it is forgotten that those that are truly gifted do have a life of their own. Not to mention those that are truly gifted also do have curses that are applied to those gifts. The best way I can instruct you on this is by giving you an assessment of some of my gifts, the pros and the cons. First and foremost, I do have the gift of gab, which means that if I let myself go and I continue talking just openly and sharing everything, then before you know it, I'm saying things that are entirely correct and offending people or scaring them on things that they don't want to know. But the gift, it struck me this way. I couldn't help myself, and that's where that gift has a curse. Although several of those people will come back to me much later and say, you know what you told me the other day about this, this, and that? You were absolutely right. And because I listened to you, I was able to take it in a different direction, and things went far more better when I got out of that house from my parents because of that argument that you stated was going to happen, and it would be putting people at odds. You know, the gift has very, very big intentional ways and measures that it actually can help you. But it's a matter of whether you're going to use it for the right or use it for the wrong. That is what will make the difference. And we have many, many different types of gifts. There are those that will have the gift of gab. And I mean the true gift of the gab. Not just the ability to talk to anybody and sell them whatever product. We do know of that one. But there is the true sense of the gift of gab. And I have that. And that's one of the readings that I can conduct for other people. Is just start talking, let it flow, and I'm going deep when I'm doing this. And I'm getting higher within myself and within the God system. And I'm able to just let it all flow out. And 99% of the time, people come to me and say, hey, you know, everything you said, it rang with me so good. I had to listen to you, and everything came out all right. Just because I applied that knowledge and wisdom that you gave me. By the same token, there are people that don't like to listen to the things that you say, no matter what form of the psyche you're practicing, and would tarnish or try to turn about the things that you say because they don't like it. And I always instruct them of that. There's also the ones that turn away the things that you've told them just on the basis you told them this description of this person. You would find them, fall in love with them within a year, and it's a very good relationship. Here's what they look like. Some girl will grab some guy with the same hair color and same eye color out of the crowd and try to make a life with him just because he was the first one there, and she felt that that was it. You know, spontaneously. Whereas if she would have waited, the cards had said, or the reading had said, that if she's patient, she goes through with life, and as she's focusing on her own life and putting herself where she wants to be, he will cross her path. And things will go so good for her within that relationship. Well, she got in a hurry. She pulled old Tom, Dick, or Harry out of the crowd. And because she did that, she not only turned her life, changed it up so that she won't meet that guy anymore that was seen for her, but instead she'll be stuck with this one that may be totally and completely abusive. So certain thoughts need to go into putting your mind into focus over a prediction that has been made. You know, because it is the client's job as much as it is ours to be intuitive to some degree, actually. Yes, the psychic said this. He's got light hair and light eyes. The psychic says that this is a very good man. High in his structure, his nature is great. He can be depended on. But this one has a mother that lives with him who's very cynical, runs everybody off that he ever dates, and so it couldn't possibly be that one. So don't try it and let it go. You know, move on. that was something, obviously, crossing your pathway, and you're not going to get there. You're not going to get what you want out of it. How is everybody doing tonight? I haven't seen anybody type anything in the room, and I don't know who all's there, although I do know that there is 5 of you. So if you would, introduce yourself and let me know who you are or what you're studying within the psyche right now, if anything at all. But just please speak up. I'm taking a sip of my evening coffee. What we're discussing here is psychism. Does it belong in everyone? Does everyone have it? Is it as prevalent as the other gifts that you've been given, like the sense of touch, sight, smell, hearing, feeling? Well, that's 5 senses. There is a 6th sense, and it is called the psyche. Why wouldn't it be as strong in everybody? However, strength is relative only to, say, the size of the individual, the youngster who's coming up and is growing in it. It gets bigger and it gets bigger. However, at a certain point, we're trained and programmed by society to believe that certain things are impossible or not correct, and we get tempered back. So many of the people, and we all do have a gift of the psyche, believe it or not, so many of the people get tempted back and forgot what's inside of them. The fairy tale is being killed in them by the same adults that raised them, reading these books to them. But it's there ever present in some of us that it just did not tend to fade from. We know who we are. We know what these gifts are. And it confuses us as to why they're not as strong as they are or should be, when we know that we're setting back, we're not exercising them as much as we could. Hi Alicia, how are you doing? I'll talk to you about dreams here in just a minute. Your dreams, or I'm sorry, your psyche only evolves to the degree that you will let it, being tempted back by family members who repress you, or other people that have taught you that things of this nature is impossible, repressed you from the earliest of years altogether. But it's there and present, and that is why we have dreams. Dreams are a manifestation of things that are going on in your mind and are trying to convey a message to you prominently about things that you need to know. Is the dream always predictory? No, not always. Most of the time, the dream is based around things that you already know and you acknowledge within your daily life, people that have crossed your paths, family that are around you. It's all based around them. And believe it or not, those people within your dream is not actually a representation of themselves, but are actually representations of different things within yourself. And so you need to sit down and evaluate what each ones of these people mean to you. How do you feel about them? Do they drive you crazy? Are you in love with them? Do they just show up at the least given time, least expected? However, they're just there and that's all it is. I mean, how they mean to you, the atmosphere surrounding the room that you're at in the dream, what you are doing, and the numbers and colors of things are very, very important to your dream. So when you say, I had a dream, can anybody interpret that? No. But can you write down all the information and data that you got from that dream and remember colors and numbers of things, the atmosphere surrounding where you were, how you felt at the time, who all was involved? Take note of that, write it all down and what they were doing. And then any good reader can interpret that dream. I'm a dream symbologist also, and I've been studying that for over 34 years, right along beside the tarot cards. And it's a very, very easy field to get into, but it does require that you trust in yourself. You let yourself go. It also requires that you read a lot of books, even those about hooey balooey, things that people write because they like to think they know, and you'll hear phallic this or sexual that and blah blah blah, and it'll make you feel kind of gross in yourself just hearing all this shit. But when they leave that stuff alone, a lot of the other stuff that they throw at you does make sense, and that's what you're supposed to partake of. So read it, try to just kind of brush aside the crap that they give you that you know can't possibly be right, and it's just them being human, okay? So just brush it aside and go forward. But eventually, I do implore you to take all of these books, pile them in a box in the closet, and say, okay, I'm not going to pick them up anymore, because the true gift is inside the individual. It really is. The true gift is inside here, and all you're doing is learning a little bit about symbology, and even numerology would help there, so that you could pull all of that into yourself and decide for yourself, what does the eagle stand for? What does the cow stand for? What does the turtle stand for? You know, what does a house on a cloud stand for? Or what does the cloud of means stand for? They all have very, very real meanings. Your horse, it stands for stability. Your cow, groundment and motherhood. Your, let's see, your dog, a companion, someone that will travel with you forever. In the dream, it's using the dog as a symbol, but is it really talking about the dog? No, it's just saying that someone is either in or is coming into your life to be a part of you. So the psyche is weird, and there's no real direct science to it, because it's all over the place. Through many, many different people, I've learned quite literal that the psyche is inside of you, and you just have to be kind of far out. You have to let yourself go, let it pick up where it wants to inside of you, and then you theorize it, think about it, and you say, hey, you know what? That makes a lot of sense to me. Austin says, unless you're a teenager and then the sex is your dreams, probably just shows where your mind is. Okay, yeah, I can give him that. When you're a teenager, when you have sex and dream, it just means that you're a teenager. That's all it means. Of course, on the other hand, you know, it came up for some reason. So there had to be a symbol before that, maybe a sweet young girl about the same age, or a sweet young thing about the same age, you know. So teenagers' dreams are a little harder to decipher, because they are a big lightning ball of hormones that are just ready to bust out all over, you know. But in all reality, you know, we're capable of solving so many different things for ourselves, for the people that are around us, or the ones that would come to us for help as a client. Now, I like that Malila, I said that right, she brings up the fact of dreams. Well, dreams happen to be the very best tool for opening up your psyche if you have not managed to do so yet. It was absolutely the best way and only way I opened up my psyche when I started first delving into the ideas of getting involved with the psyche shortly after I started the paths within my spiritual ventures, you know, on other things. I started my spiritual paths wanting to understand a lot more about the world. And so that was one of the things that I began looking into. And I tell you, as soon as I started reading the books on dream symbology, the Dictionary of Dreams, there's a lot of books based on that out there, but really they're all glossaries of what you could expect this to mean or that mean when you talk about a watermelon, a pizza, a dog, a pregnant woman, you know, or something of that nature. I mean, they're glossaries, and that's what you should really be looking at whenever you're getting off into dream symbology, trying to learn how to use it. And I do suggest all of those with high levels of psyche that is untempted, unprepared, and you haven't been able to form it into anything yet, or it's all just kind of getting away from you. I suggest you really work toward pulling it into dream symbology first. Because, when I did not have any other direction, I got me a few books on dream symbology. I started reading what they had said in the beginning of the books as to you may not begin to understand any of this for a good while to come. You may not feel that you have the gift within you after a while or start second guessing. But if you hang in there, things will seem a lot more strong for you, or you'll build a lot more faith within it so that you can make it your own. And I agree with that. The gift is in all of us, and we just have to put that into focus and be at one with it. Let's see, I'm trying to figure out what this. Uh, anyway, trying to figure out what this stuff is going on with my stream here. Nothing big or bad. Just, I'm a noob, as you guys would say today. Let's see. We have some new people in the room. And Alicia says hello. Or, Malila says hello, Alicia, here. And ask about dreams, and that's why I'm going into dreams. And Austin pops up and he says hello, and he is my husband, by the way, if you must know. A very, very good man, very sweet, a good room moderator, obviously. You will get to meet him one day, and I'm looking forward to the time. Jake Sullivan, welcome to our chats. Hello and salutations to you. It's good to have you and all new who come. Rachel Jarrett, I've seen you. I know you. Welcome back. Good to have you in the room. You spoke to spirit only. Let's see. I've been spirit and spoke to spirit only. I think that pops in my head at time of seeing them. Okay. It's happened about 2 times. Full solid once, an orb, and just sensing, but not regular. It only been on occasion. So what Rachel is trying to tell me is that she's only seen a few people that are spirits, by the way, and really doesn't know how to take them so much. But it was trying to be at one with her, and she's trying to be at one with it. She just doesn't understand it and doesn't know which way to go on it. Might have been scared a little bit, but, I don't take her to be the person that ran from it. Pops in her head, like maybe it's trying to show itself to her and perhaps tries to talk to her. This is a very weak spirit, and it's a way that the weaker spirits may try to communicate with you, but aren't really as adept in it, as they could be. And so, it takes a little bit of time, especially in getting used to such things. But, the spirits, they can come far and wide. You're a searchlight. If you're here and watching the show, either you read a lot about being psychic, or you're curious as to whether you already are, or it's been showing out in yourself, and you're wanting to figure it out. Sure. Please ask some questions, Jake. And while you're typing them, it does take a while for it to show up on my monitor. So I'll continue so we're not sitting in a dead space here. But the fact of the matter is if we don't allow ourselves to grow or allow our children to grow, I mean, a lot of times people are guilty of shushing and hushing their children when their children are letting spiritual influence play through them, and that is preventing the child from growing, and then they end up where we are now, trying to figure out where we should be and feeling bad because we are not that powerful psychic person that inevitably we could have been. And so there's another one, hurt by the concepts or ideas of people that don't believe that it exists. There are some very real situations, however, and they're out of gifts of mine. And I meant to start talking about those a little bit ago. My first gift that ever manifested was my gift of scrying. And that was whenever I looked into a fire and I had a goddess step forward and proclaim herself to me or me to her, and it's the moon goddess Diana. It happened to be on a full moon, and when we were out by a fire, I kind of got lost in my head and Diana claimed me. You know, that was a very, very strong thing for me as far as fire scrying goes. And also, I attribute this goddess as being a strong point to my abilities within fire scrying. And then from there, it's just really grown. I mean, I've woke in the middle of the night with the lights all turned out, nobody around me, and there was a heaviness on the bed right beside me, and a gravelly ass man was talking to me like you would, with a voice, and it scared me shitless. All I could think about at that time was how quick I could get to that light. But it's scary, that's for sure. Jake Sullivan says, I've recently been disturbed, or rather contacted by entities at the twilight between sleep and awake. They shake my body in bed or make me feel terror or paranoia. There is a very real spirit in your house then, and there are several different ways that you could deal with that. One of them is putting a talisman around your bed for protection against bad spirits. Number two would be taking a Native American dream catcher, having it blessed, putting a stone that represents you in the middle of it, drawing out a little stone, putting it in the middle to represent you, forget my acid reflux, and make sure it stays inside that netting of the dream catcher, and hold it between your two hands and empower it with the God's Almighty. I don't care who you call to, the deity that you feel strongest about is who you should call to. And just see the light come down from above and flood you through your head, wrap around your body, and eventually come up through your arms and empower and charge the hell out of that dream catcher. And that dream catcher from then on out will filter out not only dreams from you, dark or negative dreams that would harm you or hinder you, but it'll also filter out the bad spirits likewise. Now, you can also take a charcoal briquette like you barbecue with in your barbecue pit, and you can put one of those right beside the leg of each bedpost. Alright? And you can sage over your bed and maybe sprinkle it with a little holy water, and that would take care of you while you're sleeping. Now, I do have a video up somewhere. I've got 170 videos or whatnot, but I have one on there that is about making your own perfect, self-supporting holy water, and another one out to bless, cleanse, and purify your house and the land around it, and to keep it blessed through rose quartz, and assigning those to each of the four guardians outside of the house and the yard. And you should follow that video because it is really good. And if you do this, there isn't a spirit or somebody that's wanting to put some bad juju on your ass gonna actually be able to do anything to you. But anyway, this is not about witchcraft, however. So back onto the subject of psychism. Do we all have it? I believe that every single one of us do. And animals likewise. You see that dog, that cat, that animal that is within your house. Look up and around and get a little bit of fidgetiness, and then later on, they're looking up at a spot on the wall, and then they're playing tricks on the floor, like somebody is telling them, roll over, play dead, beg, all of this shit, and I've seen this stuff happen. Well, there is a spirit talking to that dog. Well, animals, it's not so unheard of, because animals and small children below the age of 3 years old have not been harnessed completely yet, and they are able to see spirits a hell of a lot quicker than your biggest psychic. And that is the truth. I don't advise it, but if you have questions about whether there's a spirit in the house, ask your 3-year-old or your 2-year-old, or ask your dog. Connect in with them. They'll tell you, or they'll show you. Now, I say I don't suggest that you do that, because you really don't want to subject your child to that right now. It may not be their time. However, if you're going to raise them being open-minded, then perhaps it won't hurt. They are still young yet, and we don't want to open them up entirely, because there are a lot of scary things out there. Trust me, I've been there, and I've had them here. Other occurrences that have happened to me was when I was laying in bed late at night, and I had fallen asleep. I turned around. I was facing the wall on my futon, and I turned around to look, and I saw the bathroom light was on, and I saw Charlie, my boyfriend, sitting in the chair just across a little end table from me. And I said, Charlie, will you cut off that light for me? It's a little bright, and I'm trying to go to sleep. And he said, okay, yeah, woman, that's fine. And I turned back over, and I heard the chair squeaking, and then I thought, wait a minute. I haven't been with Charlie Iverson for 13 years. What the hell is he doing sitting here? I turned around and looked again, and he wasn't there, and the light was turned off. But I know that I was awake. And so I got up, I got me a little something to drink, and I started watching me some TV. Okay, because that was hell. I found out much later that night, while he was at a girlfriend's house, and Charlie was a bad drug head, and he was held over in prison for a long time, but he had gotten out that night. And he, I guess, was fiending for his drugs. And he shot in his arm Windex cleaner, and it gave him a stroke. He almost died. As a matter of fact, it's said that he had died on the table for over 7 minutes. Later on, he showed up alive to tell me about it, and he couldn't work his entire right side. So, that's Psyche. That's him, and he always tried to get me back after I got rid of him, but he kept bringing guns in my house. He kept dealing drugs. He abused me. So, no. I tried to help him. But anyway, that was him paying a visit to me. He was going to tell me something, but I was too tired to hear it. So I shut him down, and I just asked him a favor, and he cut off the light for me. And then he left. There was no closing of the door. They don't need that. They're non-physical. But I guarantee you, it was him. And I'll never ever doubt that in my head. There was one more occasion, and are you guys getting bored of this? I can shut down and we can talk about anything else if you would like. Just let me know. It'll take 20 seconds for your comment to get to me. Anyway, one final thing was whenever me and my husband was in bed, and this was last September. Some of you may have caught the video on it. But I had been up all night creating a video called Heaven or Summerland, Reincarnation, etc., etc. It was based upon the soul, the spirit, reincarnation, or Summerland. And I loved making this video. I worked on it for 18 hours. You know what I'm saying? I put a lot of work on these videos. Trust me. The live streams, I'm kind of loving the live streams because they don't have to fucking be edited. They get ran up on the web as are, and people take me my flaws and all. And I get a few ones that want to say, you know what, you're terrible. Slack, hit that down button. She had a glare on her face. Down that button. Okay, whatever. You know, that button don't mean shit to me. What makes a shit to me is the guys that continue to come to watch my show and ask me questions, be at one with me on the things that I love. That's important. Am I right or wrong? But no, this situation here, it involved me and my husband. It was on September, coming up just on Hallows Eve. And I told myself that night, I said, I need to be able to create one hell of a Halloween video, but I don't want all of the crackpot bullshit on there and all of that. Edit some kind of crap into my video to make it look like there's something there when they're not. Or it being about silly ghosts and monsters and all of that. I wanted it to be real, you know? And I was going through sickness, so that was debatable because I didn't have the energy to cast up a circle and do what I really would have done. And do a little tarot magic or whatever. You know, so I was going to take it lightly. And work on something that could help you guys. Right? And it was about the soul, the spirit, what they are. Beware of demons. They are tricky little blighters. They'll get into your business. They'll destroy your life. This, that, and the other. All of this was on it. You know, of which I got bad rep from pagans who didn't like me putting out there that there are negative pagans. Heaven forbid. There's negative in anyone, right? Wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. But this guy that said this and challenged me on it and made me feel really bad, you know, it set into me so much that I had to make this video called The Soul, the Spirit, Death, Reincarnation, and Summerland. Okay? And it was to outline all of that. You know, to say, okay, this is what exists. This is my opinion on what exists. There are those people that may disagree with me, but that's by their choice. And I have no problem with anybody disagreeing with me. I just don't like the people that troll and say some really screwed up something to you that was uncalled for while you're trying to have a very level and logical conversation with them, you know. But anyway, aside of that, that bad incident had happened with that guy that just had a problem with me, a troll to my channel. Okay, and so I did this video, I filmed it, I started editing it, and the editing takes 6 to 8 works, 6 to 8 hours to work for the most part. And I did it, and it got me through till 2 o'clock in the morning. And by the way, everything that could possibly prevent a creator from finishing that video, it sure as shit happened. I was creating that video, and it had certain things where I had to do some circle work and all of it. But I got in my circle, realized I didn't have this done, or I had to step back at, had to recreate my circle, and so on. And it got a little irritating, but I won over it. Finally, I got the work done. I could tell something was pissed at me, though. Anyway, I went to bed, and dead dog tired. I fell face down on my bed, wiped out, and my husband was laying right there beside me. He's here. I'm there. This is our futon in the day where I do my business, but in the nighttime, it's my bed. It's our space. He sleeps there. I sleep here. Anyway, we wake up in the middle of the night. Actually, I wake up in the night because I'm having a dream about a scorpion climbing up the edge of the foot of my bed right here. And I'm not scared of it for some reason. It doesn't bother me. And it's a black scorpion. He's climbing up, and he gets all the way up to my knees. Thank goodness I had a sheet at least over me, but it was still really weird. And I just kind of brushed him off. And when I brushed him off, it was like it fell into nothing. I mean, he's not around. Okay, and I looked. No scorpion. Everyone knows that a scorpion is about self-preservation. The shells that coat their body and the tail that comes up over their head says that they're going to protect themselves no matter what area of the body they're on. They're not going to let anything hurt them. The scorpion is all about self-preservation and protection, and they're going to do that. The scorpion also shows dark matter, spiritum. Watch out for that which is around you. Could be turmoil to come. Also, one of the biggest things that I've always felt about scorpions is that it's tied with demonology. And not because the scorpion is the demon or wants to be a part of the demon, but they are that familiar to the person, actually, not to the demon. The familiar of you that would come to you and say, you've got trouble, you need to get awake now, you need to get yourself together. Anyway, I got up and I went to the bathroom, came back, the scorpion was nowhere to be found. I laid back down and I drifted off back to sleep. It didn't take me long at all. So that scorpion really didn't scare me at all. It wasn't 2 minutes in, I started dreaming again. And I lifted my head and I said, am I awake? I mean, I'm having a hard time going to sleep again now. I went to the counter, I got my water, came back to bed, and as soon as I lay down, and I don't get sleepy very fast, as soon as I lay down, I'm laying down by my husband, and then I turn around to face the wall and put him to my back, and then he wakes up and he says, I gotta go get a drink of water and go to the bathroom now. And I said, okay, we'll go. I'll wait until you get back. I was half asleep. And I felt him move, and I thought he got up. And I felt him move again, and I thought, okay, he's gotten this light from the side of his bed. That's what one meaning was of his movement. And he's now off the edge of the bed, and he must be going. It felt like he had gotten up. Anyway, so I thought, okay, well, I'm going to turn around in the bed, and I'm going to wait for him to get back. And so I make that turn, and my hand comes around to feel the bed so that I can pull myself on over. But I feel my husband's leg right here. He's still in the bed and hasn't moved. And I thought he was going to the bathroom. And then I look over to the left, and in my husband's other hand, he had gotten his phone light, and he was aiming it that way. But whenever I looked over to the bathroom where he was supposed to be going, and yet I'm feeling him right here, there is another image of my husband right over there at the bathroom door, looking dead at me. And mind you, he looks just like my husband. However, I turn back to my husband, and my husband that looks like my husband is here. And I'm like, oh no, this shit's freaky up in here. This is the psyche kicking in, and someone is wanting to freak with my ever-loving mind. My husband is here in bed with me, and he ain't gotten out of bed like he said he was going to, but there he is. And what is he doing? And by this time, the guy went on into the bathroom and disappeared. And then I just kind of shook it out. My husband got up and went on into the bathroom as though nothing ever happened. And so I saw him go in there twice. Now, he didn't see anything while he was in there. And I would have really crapped out. I mean, if he had, fact of the matter is, he is pretty psychic himself. He just really doesn't know it. And I will be really waiting to see that bust out in him. Because that boy, he sleeps by one of the best psychics there are. And he came to me with those abilities at that. He knows things. He's just really more agnostic than anything. you know, and so, you know, he can only give so much. Either way, we had these talks about all of this, and it was just so vivid, you wouldn't believe. And I've had instances since then, and I found out, and I'll talk to you in just a second, Jake. And I found out from other things that happened, because it's starting to happen more and more back in my dreams again. I found out that one of my biggest gifts are that I am getting the last day that a person lived. The joy, the contentment, the fight, the battle, and the death, whatever it was on the last day of their life, I'm getting that while I'm asleep. And it's been going on since my chemotherapy and radiation treatments. When I shut down, and I really did, when I started going through my cancer treatments, I shut everything down, because when you're trying to get through everything, you don't want all the dark and negative and evil around you. You really don't. So I shut the shit down, you know. But it tried to come up through me in other ways. You know, I mean, those abilities are a part of you. And so they're going to try to come through in other ways. And they really did. They started coming through in my sleep, and I have been bestowed the gift of getting spirits that have just died and are living, or had been living, the last day of their life when they died, and then they use my body while I am sleeping, and I see everything that played out in their last day. The very last one, and this is going to make you laugh your ass off, I'm sure. And if you want to laugh, you go ahead and laugh. This is just too damn funny and too good to pass up on putting out here. My very last visitor happened just the other day. See, it doesn't happen every night, but it does happen many nights. And whenever it does get on a good ball roll, it'll go on night after night, you know, or sometimes 2 to 3 times a night. But the very last instance of this going on, I was a 19-year-old boy just coming into life who was still a virgin, who was in his room and with a little girl of about his age in his room, who said she was virgin, but it was doubted in here as to whether she really was or not. And he had kidney problems, like at times his kidneys would fail on him and he could almost die. And he was in line to get a kidney transplant, but it still was never in sight. And this young lady happened to be in his room at his house, and he's got a little brother over here and an older sister over there and a single mother in the other part of the house, and all of them home. He's still trying to find a way to keep them all out of his damn room. But he says, what the hell, you know, and he throws that caution to the wind. And before I know it, and mind you, I never saw what he looks like. I'm looking through his eyes, okay? And in some ways, he feels so powerful and strong, and in some ways, he feels so weak and dreadful, and like there's some knowledge there that means that he won't go very far in life, you know. But he got his. I was there for the whole thing. He was in me, and I was not myself. So this was really, really weird. And the weirdest experience, I think the weirdest experience I've had in my life, there's one where I was a person who didn't know I was dead, and a car drove through me while I was walking, along with 2 grieving friends who had just left my funeral. That was another scenario. But this guy who just got his first love, you know, whenever she left and he was happy, trust me, I remember everything. And God, I'll never forget. But afterwards, he had to pull a piss pot from the edge of his bed. And you would know that he had to carry it there all the time for the times that he may not make it to the bathroom. And this, I had feelings, was his very last day on earth. That is one blessing that I have. Now, mind you, you could always say that that could be a curse as well, because you could be there and watch a person die. So there's a blessing and there's a curse. And, some of the curses that go with the blessings are something else. It's met with a lot of hardship. I experienced something similar. Once my eyes closed, I was brought instantly to a dream state. This happened while the entity made contact. There are different ways that you could go to sleep when those spirits get up and in there with you. You may just very well have a gift of being able to shut down on your physical body and go weak or limping, and then let them empower the body themselves for a while. And we call these walk-ins, whether we want to let them stay there or not forever. That's another idea altogether. And I definitely don't suggest it, but there are so many different ways you can interact with spirits and so many different gifts. These kind of gifts that I've told you about, waking up in the middle of the night, talking to somebody that's supposed to be dead, whether you know them or not, can be pretty scary. Especially if it's somebody that you knew a long time ago and never knew that they even died, or someone that's talking to you and you don't even know what they're saying because you're half asleep, but you feel the weight of their butt right beside you on the bed. Almost kind of makes you want to roll over because of the weight, pushing down right there, but you don't know them. Yeah, dreams can be very, very impactful, and you really have to just sit down and write out all the very, very strong information about it to be able to decide what it is trying to tell you. So very strong there. And, I don't have a lot of time to go into dream readings on individual people here. But, to cover the case, though, as to developing the psyche, knowing that it's in everybody and trying to evolve it to where it's something that you work with is very, very important. And if, you hear a lot of people say, I feel that I'm psychic, but no one takes me serious. Well, they probably are. And if people listen to them a lot more, then chances are they could be of a help from time to time. Although we're also saying, that they may not be as evolved as they had been working on it for over 34 years of their lives, making it, a part of them, like another arm or leg. For me, it's my career. It's my home. As I live in my job, which is my shop, I do tarot card readings in, and it is my my entertainment as I put out videos to do with it or talk to friends online, that are wanting to learn likewise. All of this is part of the psyche. There's a lot of psychic energy around the world, and we all have a finger in it, one way, form, or fashion. But how we'll use it, how will we evolve it? Your strongest psychics are the ones that start delving into finding out what their true element is. And even if they find their true element, as per their birth sign goes, that will help strengthen them in one way, but finding out which element they really like to play with is even above that. And that way, you'll grow and enhance on that just playing with something. Reading your own cards, a very, very bad idea. The tarot cards are put here first and foremost in the oldest days. It's nice to have you here, Vicky. Glad to see you. Yeah, dreams that come true are pretty often, and we should always abide by them, or at least try to decipher and find out if they're telling us something that we have forgotten or need to straighten out before it gets out of whack. And there is all of that. Your dreams are definitely trying to tell you something. But your mind is always trying to tell you something in so many different ways or forms or fashion. You could look up at a cloud and you can find a couple of different symbols written within the clouds that says you need to get out there and exercise. I saw one yesterday when I was on my way to Hibachi's out to eat. My husband and I just had an argument as to whether we should go and get that food that we wanted because we're on a diet at the same time. And I said, well, Hibachi sells a lot of really good stuff, and they balance it out by selling some things that may not be too good for you. But I looked up and I saw a curly-haired woman, a black curly-haired woman, and her hair was, for the most part, high on her head, and she was skinny, and she wore a softball t-shirt with short sleeves, and she was in a running motion. I literally saw this in the cloud, and I wished I could get to my phone quicker than all those trees would be coming up and hiding her. But that to me was a symbol saying, yes, you have these problems, but you do also have a method of taking care of it at the same time. Do some exercise, and you can get rid of all of these other things. So have your cake and get rid of it too, you know. Or just don't torment yourself. I am age 55. 50, 50, 50, yeah, 50. Not 55 yet. I was like, where did that other 5 come from? And here I am trying to age myself up rather quickly. Damn it. Y'all didn't hear that, and it is not a fact. I swear. 1966 is my birthday. Knock on something, and you can prove it if you want. But, abiding your psyche, listening to your own instincts. Another such situation where my own psyche could have helped me was when I was with my very first old man. He was 32, I was 18. I didn't have a car, but he didn't mind me using his because he knew I was pretty level-headed and could hold my own and everything, right? And I had to go get one thing further down the road as I passed through all the major areas. And I could either go straight home or I could go over to Sack and Save, which is just a veer over, and maybe pick up some other stuff there that I had forgotten. And I wanted to go home. Everything told me to do that. But at the last minute, I decided to pull over, take that right and go on over to Sack and Save. And before you know it, I'm getting stopped by a police officer. I'm 18 years old at this point, never had a driver's license in my life, did not have insurance, and I'm getting ticketed. But I had debated and was so compelled to go on straight to my house, but I did not listen. And then it costed me over 265 bucks. Pretty sad. Thank you for what, Vicky? Vicky is saying thank you, LL. I guess about welcoming her and feeling good about her being there. She also says, you say it's bad to read your own tarot cards. What about reading your own runes? It's still bad. Let me talk about the basic idea of that, the basic principles of that. For one thing, and we're going to start back whenever I began reading. Okay, so you guys can understand from the beginning. I began reading the tarot cards. I was handed my own deck of tarot cards in 1984. And I'm like, oh my God, wow, these are wondrous. And it was 2 sets, one of them red and one of them blue. And later on, I felt that one was mine. And my sister had been interested in more astrology than anything, but she really let those cards caught her eye. And I also, at the same time, gave her a hardback copy of the Rider-Waite book. Not the a.e.waite, but the Rider-Waite book. And they were the Rider-Waite pack, the oldest ones from the 80s, okay? And I'm not saying that they're not older than the 80s. I'm saying that they were the oldest in the 80s being used for the most part. And she took the cards from me and made them her own. And fortunately, I can sit here and tell you that I have one of the first 2 decks that were ever given to me. I have it up here, and I treat those like my babies. I'm never going to get rid of them, and I retired them so that they would get less wear and tear over time. You know, and as long as we take care of our tools, they'll always do right by us. Anyway, my main topic here was, do I read my own? Well, they say what you want them to say. They're linked into you. They know what you want. You're the one mixing them up. And they know what your hopes and ambitions are. And to some degree, you could be controlling the cards because you are psychic and you're connected into your tool. Why couldn't you be choosing your tool based upon wanting that tool to show? So be very careful there. It is a bit dangerous. Take your own readings with a grain of salt. And it would be the same thing with the runes. You mix them up, you're going to try to apply it to this or that where it isn't warranted. You know, you're not really going to get the full of it. You know, it's another experience I had with the tarot cards was I don't read for myself. And me and Austin were very new to each other, like a month or two that we had gotten together. And he asked me to read the tarot cards for us and see how our life would work out. It was Valentine's Day night. And so I thought, okay, as a treat on Valentine's, I'll go out on a limb and try this. I spread the cards out on the table. And I started filling for my card. And the cards started coming up that he would lose me into death by the hands of another man who was light-haired and light eyes, and that it would come within a year, only it showed to be slightly more toward the beginning and where I was reading, and said, beware, one would be left alone and mourning the death of the other. Do you know, on that Valentine's Day night, we got into playing our video games. Anybody of you that have watched my channel, you may know I love to play the games, okay? I love live streaming my games on Twitch. But we were playing our games and talking and all that, and before I know it, I hear bam! And I look over, and as soon as I look over, I see this guy's back, and so I'm on the phone with the law as soon as that. Hey, Hope, good to see you, girl. Don't you think they show what you're thinking because we create our own hopes or our own realities? Yes, I feel that the cards tie in and want what they want, but it's based on our hands. The energy in our hands are calling to the energy of the card because that's what we're praying for. We're praying for a good reading. We are manipulating the cards as the readers. So, good point, Hope. Very good point. And it's so good to see your face, girl. You ought to keep that profile page so I'll always know who you are, even from here. The bitch wears glasses, right? Anyway, yes, we were being barricaded into our building by him. He had ripped the guts out of the door. They were in his hands, literally. Now, the shank inside the door was left, and inside the wall where it goes into that stud there, so nobody could get the door open or let us out. The cops are all on the outside because I had already been on the phone with them, and we're trapped in here with a sword-wielding, dagger-throwing motherfucker who really wanted a piece of some of us, and not us particularly, but he thought, and you'll have to forgive me for this prejudice. You know, I found it really offensive, but the dude was tweaked out from the hotel across the road, right? But he was proclaiming that a bunch of Negroes were after him. You know, he said it a little more derogatory, and the way he put it there is just no real light way to put that. and that they had already gotten his wife, you know. Which, by the way, there's more to that part. Anyway, you know, I finally commended him. I told him, I said, you put that sword down right now. The cops are already there at the door, and there's nobody here, and I will take you down if you don't. And then he handed it to me. Within another minute, he went into another hostile fit, and he pulled a dagger off of my shelves. And then he's wielding it around Austin, you know, and then Austin commands him down from it. And then he started reaching for another sword on the shelf, and I said, you touch that, I'll break your fucking finger. And he sat down and he says, yes, ma'am. I demand respect. I mean, people deserve respect, but I demand respect. You know what I mean? And if you don't get it from anybody else, you need it from a knife-wielding, dagger-wielding motherfucker that just really isn't in his right mind. Well, the cops came in and talked to us after we're taking down the information, all that, and she said that they arrest him about every weekend. He stays over at the Scottish Inn Hotel, which is about 150 feet across the road. Well, he is known for being a drug addict out of West Hill, and so on and so on, and I better get my door fixed because he'll be out before the night is over, and she wants me secure. The cop was a lady. I sent Austin to get the lock, and he put it in while he was here, while I waited. And we got it all secured, and we got it all locked up, and we were blasted tired. This went on from 12 noon to 7 o'clock in the morning, no doubt. Finally, he was tucked away and everything else, so we went to bed. And then all of a sudden, we're woke up in our sleep when we were finally all cozied up. And if anybody's seen my man here, he's good to cuddle up with, you know, and you just don't want to get out of that bed. But I did, and I opened that door, and it was an old friend of a friend who was from another pagan group in this community. And me and this community had flagged together because of their ways of doing things. And I won't really go into that whatsoever. I don't name names. But, you know, I knew her very well, and she had stolen oils off the shelves in my bathroom one day when she visited with this friend of hers that actually worked for me. So let me just say, I did not like the girl, and I did not fancy it. Her knocking on my door and saying, I see you're asleep, and I'm still rubbing my eyes and all of that. And she says, I'm sorry what my husband did and all of that. I mean, that was just crazy. And no, about me being taken, I'm still here and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, that's good. All right, well, I've got to go. Bye-bye. You know, but this is the way things are. Why do, and this is a good question, why do things that are so chaotic, or people or animals that are in such a chaotic state, draw primarily to the places and people of peace? This piece of property that I'm on right now, and it's a 316 frontage road stretch of area right on the freeway. I have had 3 car accidents on this property in the past 5 to 6 years. Yeah, that's about right. 5 to 6 years. One of them completely went into my ditch, which is actually the city's gully, and it's an easement right there for the city, although it's said to be my property. That's just so that I can pay on it for them. But yeah, they went down in there without a bat of an eye. They had to deal with getting him out, and I believe he survived. There was the man who jumped the curve and hit the weeping willow tree on the far end of my property, and he survived. And then there was a woman who cut around, and this is really wiggy. I mean, it's something else, because I have a sign that's right here, and I have a metal pole that's right here, and the two are no further than this, you know, in appearance. Okay? But this woman drove off the bank here, wrapped her car around the pole, and came up between the sign and the pole, letting it to be less damage, and she survived. So anyone that has crashed their vehicle here because they felt they had nowhere to go made the right choices, obviously. And maybe because this place has been a spiritual center for 15 years now. You know, people draw to that energy, and psychism is a part of why they do it. We all have psyche. What is good for us or what is bad for us is there, but do we want to take the safe route? Not necessarily, because in love the heart wants what the heart wants. Or you may have really had your heart set on and going and moving in with Edna over there just because she's in a different, quieter community in another state. You know, that's all there. But working it out, the best way to bring it out inside of yourself is first and foremost meditation. Learning how to meditate is very important to anybody embarking on spiritual pathways. As long as you can open the third eye and close down the physical ones, and both are equally as necessary, then you can go where you want. That means close your physical eyes and imagine that your eyes are rolling up and into one point into the center right here. And that's why they call this the third eye. Because your eyes will literally cross and land in here to the point at which they're looking at. And at that will, you know that you're beginning to work that psyche. So every one of you right now that is in the room, I want you to, without thought, at the spur of a moment, close your eyes and take notice as to where your eyes go to. And ask yourself, did they travel upward and inward? Vicky, bottles like that can last about a year, but the ingredients inside of it can go bad after a while. It's sometimes good to to take note of when you did it and know when you buried it. Plant something over it so you'll know right where you put it, and you can dig it back up and you could cleanse it and then replenish it again. But you don't want a bunch of old bottles out there planted under the earth. So those of you who have tried it, closed your eyes, you found that your eyes automatically traveled up to the centermost point of your forehead. It won't be working as well. It definitely will fade out. It will keep those ingredients to some degree, but it will fade out. Just read some of my other, or watch some of my other videos based on it. It does definitely go into that. But your DNA, all of that, it does go a little daggy. It goes out from being good anymore, and you need to get new stuff. It's good to charge what up? A full moon. Like the bottle that she's discussing? She may be saying it's good to take your bottle out. Maybe drop a few new of your personal hairs into it and then leave it in the moonlight for 3 days and then under your bed for 3 days. You don't dig it up every month, my dear. You dig it up once a year. Say on the harvest moon. That is the best moon to actually do your works for protection of your home. Believe it or not. All Hallows Eve is also a good day, like second best. Beltane would be your third best day for doing this. Okay, so you can do it any of your primary large events, but What works with you is what's going to be important here. A lot of people try to quote me as saying that everything has to be set in stone. But nothing has to be set in stone. If you're from another religion and you read a certain book that guides you that this, that, and the other has to be set in stone, then you are set in stone. And if you don't like the way I deal with things, then don't listen to me. But the way I do things are not set in stone, because I feel that there is nothing entirely right and nothing entirely wrong. And if it has validity of existing, you can take it, use it, and make it work with you for building that which is wanted. The psyche is the easiest things to tap into or become at one with. You just have to open your third eye, and that's through meditation, and avoiding the things that keep you overly antsy or energetic or overly tired when you're going into it, or in a bad mode or bad state because you've just talked to your mother-in-law who doesn't like you, or that boss tells you that you've got to come in whether you like it or not, blah blah blah, and that gets to you, and you don't want to go into any of this after a bad time. It's just not the thing to do. Since June 25th, 2015. So it's probably time to pull it up, restock it, say a prayer, and put it back. That would be my thoughts on it. My jars that I do for my clients, and I've been doing them for over 10 years, and I've known about them for a lot longer. The jars that I do, I put it filled with all of the ingredients, and water is involved with that, and other things. You know, I don't give away all my recipes, but I do my jars for my clients. They're said to last 1 year at a time. At that point, they need to be rejuvenated just before they go out. And the old one needs to be spilt out on the ground and ammonia poured all over it with a prayer that all of the workings are to be dispelled, that this is no more and it won't harm the spell that you've recently done that is still there with you and not being pulled apart. So working your magic for protection is good. But this isn't really about a magic show. That's for the other guys. Here today, we're talking about the psyche. And I want to know who all here has abilities of the psyche. And I'm going to have to start pulling you guys together on an idea to where we can be synonymous with the topic and figure ourselves out. Vicky Gilling says, I'll have to redo the bottle soon, and so she agrees with me. I have pieces of broken glass, pins in the bottle. And in all actuality, when I do mine, those are some of my ingredients. Broken glass, bottles, pins, nails, tacks, hot pepper, some herbs that I won't name, and liquid in the jar. A lot of people use water in their own hair, and a lot of people will use their own pee. And then you bury that jar in the earth around your house, generally right under your doorstep, so that it would be sure to make anything that tries to come into your door go away. You know, it'll try to stave off all that negative energy so that you don't have to take it into your house. And you really don't want it in your house, or you want to cleanse it immediately if it gets in there. But psychism is the prominent topic here, and basically learning how to work with it, it can be very hard. Your tarot cards, your runes, your pendulums, your fire scrying, your water scrying, a bowl scrying, it's actually a tool. It's a tool to tap into to see what it is that you are to see. But don't let yourself go without starting with maybe an earlier manner of tapping into your psyche, and that is using your dreams, which is what Let's see. What's her name? I'm sorry. It's way the hell up there. Mm, Anyway, I believe she's gone, and if she's gone, probably everything that she said is gone too. I believe her name was Dawn. I'm not sure. But she said, you know, well, hell, I don't even know what she says. Basically, you've got to keep your tools clean. That way, all the energy of the people that you're reading does not come back to you or stay with you. You don't want that. And a good time to cleanse them is every time after you've done a reading from somebody, because you don't want that setting in your house. It will contract itself to somebody in there that it feels synonymous with, and it could be your daughter, your little baby, your son, your husband, and they'll carry it around with them for days. Or it could be a spirit that will stay there and become more and more manifest, and uh, begin being your ultimate hunting, as you give it more and more power. But it doesn't have to happen that way. The psyche can be dealt with on so many different levels. How are you doing? It's good to see you. Miraculous addiction, trash, is entered the room. Let's see. We're just talking about the spirits and controlling it in ourselves. The spirit is so vast. I mean, you can travel in so many different ways. You can astral travel and let yourself go as long as you don't go into dark places. Don't let yourself get carried into dark places. You can astral travel and along with a cat or a dog, a wild panther, you know, fly on the wings of an eagle or an owl. You know, they will take you through this world's nature and show you many, many things. And they leave you with certain parts of them afterward, some of the memories that they have shown you. And all of that helps us to build ourselves into a better person in understanding, loving the earth, doing good by it, and so forth. Is there anybody that would like to say anything about psychism at all? Usually I can't get people to stop asking me questions about their psychic endeavors. There are so many things that we do go through, but a lot of people just, put it off and go on with their daily life, because they're led to feel that these type of things don't happen, and they really do. Let's talk about the different types of gifts. I have let's see, Vicky says, and there's a thing here. Let's see. Uh, Vicky says, I have dreams that come true often. I feel, I get feelings that are oftentimes right too. So probably your gift trying to pour over and out of you since it's not finding enough channels to get out there to the people. And then let's see, what else? Hope Kramer. I see aliens along with other spirits. I believe that we see other spirits. I don't know what to call them. And I do feel that they are from far and off. And I shudder to use the word alien because it's so stereotyped by human beings today to where it almost sounds, you know, ridiculous or comical. I don't disbelieve. I don't. I don't disbelieve that anything could live out there on another planet. Why? Because we live out here on this planet. People might be doubting us. I fail to believe that we are pieces on a chessboard being moved around by a father that, likes to play chess and our lives at the same time. I fail to believe that. And I fail to believe that we were just given as Christmas presents to some big ass little kid up in the heavens, to where he's just moving us around in whatever state ever, because we're just too damn smart for that. We'd be trying to get out of that freaking box. I don't really try to channel any gift I might have. I just kind of let it happen. And that's a real good way of doing it. I am the same way. And as a matter of fact, when my clients come here and they start begging me to do a channeling for them, I'll tell them, you know what? I don't want to just go right into channeling. It don't come like that. You know, we sit down, we'll start reading, and then if the spirit has anything to say, then it'll start conveying messages between me and it, and in front of this person, so that they can get the gist of what's going on. And it does happen an awful lot. I get pulled into that an awful lot, and it's really hard on the body because it drains you out to a great degree. Does a certain zodiac sign have a greater psychic ability than the others? No, I believe that we are all out there to work with different elements, different prospects of the earth. We're all doing different things. I think also you have a lot of different forms of the psyche. Or maybe one neutral word, psyche, but it is being put out on so many bands that it could go so many different directions and actually transpire through somebody else entirely different from the people that they're around. And it can make people feel a little left out a lot of the times if they feel that they had a lower ability than what somebody else had per se. But it's all the same, it's all helpful, and it's all for a cause. And we should be excited, proud, and happy that this was bestowed upon us. It tells us that we are old souls, for one thing. And for another thing, it tells us that we have treaded so long within our path that they rely on us and they expect us to give wisdom and knowledge to other people wittingly and wisely on their behalf. And so it's a connection. And you're connecting with not only the God spirits, you're connecting to other littler spirits around you. You're connecting to the person that you're reading. You're connecting into the cards, and they're all connecting into you. Without any portion of any of that being there, nothing at all would transpire. And so that could really suck. So those of you who feel that you do have the gift of the psyche need to start rebuilding it. And first off, you need to take a black screen, a television when it's been turned off and does not have a lot of light in the room, and no glare on the screen from a light anywhere. No candlelight showing on the screen. It's a real good fire screen mirror. It'll take you through into the portals. If you want to go there, I suggest you wait till you've gone a little farther before you do that. But it could take you astral traveling as well. You know, it could take you into deepest meditation. Black mirrors and black TV screens are the equivalent of each other. However, do not let any dark negative spirits in with you before you start doing this. And you may want to cleanse a little bit of an area around you before you go in there to do that. I've had one boy say that every time he closes his eyes in meditational fashion, then he feels a hand touch him, and then he hears a very dark voice talking to him at that point. And he fears that he is traveling into the underworld, and he is. I really feel that with all of my being. He really is. Let's see. And Hope says, E.T. better. What is that? Gonna have to clarify yourself on that one, little girl. Hope says, I used to be really paranoid as a child of looking at mirrors because it's always to see faces. I think that what she's trying to say is she looks in the mirror and her face changes within it if she's seeing what I think she is. I have a gift to where I can get in touch with my past lives by opening a portal in a mirror to a degree. And I can go in, and it's opening a portal actually into the entity rather than into the world itself. And I find myself back there, or actually just standing face to face with them in the mirror, and knowing what they looked like, who they were, and sometimes having them interchange very fastly with other people that I were in those lives. Two of those were well burnt up in the face, although it didn't show the rest of the body. I know what two lives they were. The two witches that I were burned at the stake for my actions, and I don't feel that I committed a crime, but was accused of committing the crime of witchcraft, and therefore were to be put to death by none other than to be burned to death, along with two other females, and so I know who they were. Now, who were we in past lives? I feel that the reason why I was burned to death in those two lives was because I was an inquisitioner in the life just before it. Now, we all have come through some very, very dark places within our lives. And I have come from some very dark places, all the way back further than you can imagine. The world was dark back in those places. So we all come from dark places. And now we're at a path where the world is dictating that we are to be civilized, and we're doing things that they're telling us to do. Some of it which goes against Earth's reconditioning of itself. And it can't do it because it has no way to do it when we are not on board with it. And it's not that we couldn't be on board with it. Anyway, so, the psyche, get in touch with it, go into meditation. Okay, before bed, tell yourself 3 times, I will remember my dreams. And then you think about something else very briefly, about, say, your husband or your wife or your kids or whatnot, very briefly, like 15 seconds, okay? And then you get ready to lay down, and then you say 3 more times, I will remember my dreams. And then you'll lay down. And 9 out of 10 times, you have just input it into your head that you will remember your dreams. Now, you need to have a notebook and a pen sitting right beside you whenever you're doing this. You need to have the paper and pen. That way you could write down everything as soon as you wake up, and you remember things far better than before anybody ever talked to you. When somebody begins talking to you, it's all gone. It's out the window. You'll never remember it again. Only just impressions. But dreams are a very lucrative place to start. And Vicky says she remembers her dreams very vividly. That is a symbol of a clairvoyant. When you're seeing things in like moving picture and fashion, that's going to grow up to where it becomes like pictures that move to you, but very brief one, and you'll get out of it everything you need. So you're still developing, although you're pretty far developed. Let's see. Hope Kramer actually has a very, very deep spirit, a very old spirit for what her age is, I think. I don't know that she's ever acknowledged that, and I've told her that before, and we didn't go into a deep talk about it. She's one of my best friends, and if I have an issue about what people on YouTube are trying to do to me or whatever, then I can go and I can talk to her. And Nicole is another one. I mean, I have my friends, and they do help keep me in line. And Vicky, she's good. So I have my moments too. We cannot always be the good guru, but bear in mind, at the times when you are the good guru, which means being understanding and at peace with everyone, you can take so much more in through the mind and the heart and let it resonate with you. And the more you allow things to resonate with you, the happier you're going to be. And within that happiness, you're going to carry that to the world. And that's the problem with the world today. There's not enough people looking into the eyes of someone that they just absolutely do not know and say, you know what? I thought your eyes were just so pretty. I had to say that, you know? And now I'm going out to my husband or whatever, you know? But we don't say enough that could go viral in a good way, a right way. You know, psychically, you're going to pick up on a lot of things that other people are thinking at the time they're thinking of it. Sometimes you'll want to cry, especially if you're empathic and you're definitely picking it up, you know. But what can you do? As a psychic, we have to learn eventually how to shut that down, and that's usually when we've gotten too tired. You'd be hitting 50s and 60s and still trying to shut that down, you know. And so I would encourage you to look for ways to shut things down now, because there should be an agreement between you and that spirit. For one thing, you want to tell them, okay, anytime I'm in this room with my honey, you're to stay in that room. Okay, you got that? Okay, and there's a funny story with that, but I won't go into it. And, you know, there is, when you're going to be here, you can be here. But don't come up right behind me when you least expect me and put your hand on my shoulder. Or, you know, don't mess with my wife or don't mess with my husband if you are a male or a female. Don't screw with them while they're asleep and you're in my house. You know, there are very good boundaries that you should throw out there. But the spirits are only wanting to live, and so they act in ways of what was personal to them, the way they acted before they died. You really have to listen to them, though, on a serious level. They don't just play pranks or dwell around your house not saying anything or say light things or whatever. You have to really watch them because they're as important to you as a human living individual, and you have to bear that in note. When they're in trouble, when they're turmoiled, you have to ask why. And yes, there's generally a spirit that's ready to take them there or guardian over them while they're here, but they may need that which you have. And only through that can they move on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Lady Leeanna, and I really hope that you have enjoyed this session of eclectic spirituality and psychism. I am going to entitle this Psychism, and I really enjoyed it. This was the very first session that I had on this channel. Do you know that? Generally, there weren't enough people before that were acting in the room or saying anything, coming in and saying hi or whatever. And so I felt that it would be useless to try to put anything together. But then I thought, well, you know, why not use this to bring them out and make them a part of things that are going on? Bring a little light to them. And that's the way I roll. That's the way I want to do. You know, anyway, all the new guys that came into the room, I really look forward to meeting you again in the future. I don't usually cross rooms with one subject to the other, although I know to some light degree they go hand in hand. I do try to keep them apart, generally for the sake of those who want to learn reading the tarot cards, but do not yet want to dabble within the mysterious because they were not raised around it and have no hopes to. And so that's why the tarot card channel has not been merged with the channel I own already. So here you have two very fruitful channels that are both prosperous and successful, and I feel good about that. And over there, I can talk about the things that you guys don't generally want to talk about here. Or I could talk about here, leaving things out that would have to do with spirituality to some degree. However, I do implore everybody here to understand that when you are talking about reading the tarot cards, there is a God system that is enmeshed, and it's going to come out on a lighter note. Be careful, take care of yourself, and have a good weekend. Happy Earth Day, everybody, and let's end this with a little bit of a prayer, will you? First, I want us to take and put our hands up just like this. And I would say, lords and ladies, gods and goddesses of the earth, hear my prayer now. Be with me and be with my companions, and watch over them as though they were me, for indeed they are my family. Take care of them and be at one with them through this day, your Earth Day. Be with them and pat them on the back and let them know that you're here. Let things that are transpiring in the garden be magnificent. Let things that were bad start to melt away. In the name of the Almighty Deities, in the name of all that is here, go your way and spread the seed of love and understanding and respect, and encourage people to do those things that they generally would not do, that which would preserve the earth and keep it flowing for another 200 years. In the name of the Almighty Deities, blessed be, so might it be, and so be it. And now just kind of lower your head a little bit and relax. And breathe in very deeply, keeping your eyes closed. And take all that energy into yourself right now. All the energy that has been created by this prayer and by our being here. Take that energy, a part of it, and imagine it as though it's divided into a pie form going upward in the middle between all of us who are here. Alright? Does everybody have that? A big pie that rises high on the crown of it and has been cut. And it looks kind of goldish or brassy, but it's kind of coming down with its parts. So now I'm going to reach in and take my one part of this pie, and I'm going to drag it out for myself, and I'm going to take it into myself and carry it with me through the rest of my night. And you should do the same thing as well. And if you feel that there is someone in your home that needs it even more than you, then you could take even a small part of what you've just placed into yourself. Take a small part of it out, not all of it, but a small part of it. And you can carry it into them like this and say, honey, I have something for you and I want to make your day. And then you can press it into his chest. And if he asks, well, what's this? Say, that's Lady Leeanna's prayer to us and all that were on the show, and our prayer that followed with it. It was the entity that made this what it was, whatever it was. Whatever it be, and whatever it was, let it be a part of me, so blessed be. Use your creativity, but take your part of that pie and press it into your chest right here. And afterward, take some of that and give it to the person that you love, or give it to your oldest child, or someone that makes you happy. This is Lady Leanne signing off. I will be doing another show, Coffee with Lady Leanna, at 9:30 in the morning. Please be there or be a sleepyhead. Bye bye and bon bon.